Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Ball and Breakfast podcast here for week 10 of the NFL. We got a special guest tonight, Hunter Schuler of the Logical Nonsense podcast, joining us. He started his podcast recently, has done a feature with stuff about sports. Our friend Germ over there, from what I've seen, weighs in on football, other related sports too. But for tonight, we're just going to do a more abbreviated week 10, we'll cover 5 games that we think are the most compelling. We'll go back and forth with Wayne and Hunter. And, without further ado, we'll just start it off with Thursday night. Our Bears will be hosting the Carolina Panthers, and I'll let Hunter take the platform here.
Yeah, no, this is an interesting one, I think, for sure. I mean, Thursday night has been kind of underwhelming this year, I would say. As a whole, there hasn't been like a ton of games where I look back and I'm like, wow, that was such a great game. Definitely some still interesting storylines. Is Justin Fields going to play? I think is a big question for the Bears if he plays. And even if he does play, how he looks. On the other side of the football, you've got Bryce Young, who threw, 2 pick sixes last game. So it's interesting. I mean, looking at his stats, I was looking at it yesterday. I think he has 8 touchdowns and 7 picks. I don't know. I don't know what to think about Bryce Young and this team. Like I said, I don't know. This could be a very interesting game in the sense that they have. I don't know. They're both kind of two. I would say I don't want to hurt you guys' feelings, but I would say 2 bad teams. So I feel like it's an interesting game in that sense. It's kind of like a car crash you have to watch, because both teams are what I would say at similar levels. So I think I'm going to have to give the advantage to, I'll go with the Bears. You know what? I'll go with the Bears. I think they'll get it done. Bryce Young just hasn't proved to me that he can handle any type of pressure, really. So I'll go with the Bears.
Yeah, and hey, just for the record, no feelings harmed on this podcast here with regards to the Bears, White Sox. In fact, I think that keeps it just more interesting, I think, for us, just talk about the issues of the world. So, but no, I agree. Part of me is like, I want to cheer for the Bears to at least win this game because I want the Panthers to maintain their top draft pick for us to pick, whether it be 1, 2, 3, something like that. So, and with the Bears, I think we might get another win or 2 here. Keep the top 10. Like, okay, we win this one, but at least we maintain the Carolina Panthers top draft pick for us to pick. Marvin Harrison Jr., who I'm eyeing on there, and then we can pick whatever else from like the other first round pick that we get there. So that being said, from the standpoint, I do think that, the Panthers, their defense, their run defense, not the greatest. I think that'll keep things, kind of humming there for the Bears. And then Badgett, just don't turn over the ball. And then I think we should be good. So that's the quick take, I think, on that.
Yeah, this seems like a win-win game for the Bears. If they win the game, they get a W. If they lose the game, that draft pick looks even sweeter. Coming from Carolina, I'm with you guys. I mean, I feel like looking at Bryce Young, I was actually in the game at Detroit. I think I've mentioned this on the pod, but watched Bryce Young live this year. And it's hard for him to kind of see over that line. It's hard for him to, basically get out of pocket, make throws, or even dart around for some extra yards. Like, he's just been getting swallowed up back there. I don't know if Frank Reich has been doing him any favors as well. I mean, I feel like a lot of the schemes, more or less, like, guys aren't getting open. He's making pretty errant throws and stuff. But, this is Reich's, second campaign in a row where it's just really gotten off to a terrible start. Obviously ousted from the Colts. Now he's with the Panthers. Just looks like the whole package out there is seriously struggling. My thing is, I'm just wondering, is Justin Fields going to be back this week? Know he's nursing the thumb. Would this be his first game back? It is in prime time. They are at home. I really want to give them the nod. If it is, Tyson Badgett yet again, he's looked serviceable to maybe a little bit below average at this point. And I think Carolina is capable of winning a game here. So I guess, we have been kind of dogging Carolina a little bit, but If it is Justin Fields' first game back, or we're rolling out yet another week of Tyson Bagent, give me Carolina in an upset here. And at the very least, they're covering that 4-point Chicago Bears spread.
Okay.
I think covering the spread, sure, why not? But I don't know. I think Deontay Foreman, like, this is his revenge game. He's like, hey, these guys, like, they got rid of me for Miles Sanders over there who's doing nothing. Like, I'm gonna bring the house to the Panthers here, get the revenge game. He's a running back, so it's like they don't get too much these days in terms of contracts and such. So maybe I think this is his like revenge game against the Panthers over there.
I'm also wondering how many turnovers are going to be in this game. I mean, you look at Tyson Bagent. I mean, he had 5 turnovers in the last 2 games, and then Bryce Young, he also threw, like I said, 2 picks. So, I mean, if I'm playing fantasy, I'd pick up one of these defenses at least. So, I don't know. It's interesting for sure. I think this could be a sloppy game, and as I said, like, such a sloppy game that it's like almost fun to watch in a weird way, So we'll see.
We will. Moving on to our next one on Sunday, we've got the Houston Texans traveling to the Cincinnati Bengals. It looks like a 7-point spread for Cincinnati. Wayne, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah. I mean, 7-point spread, I think that could be challenged, I think, here. That being said, the Bengals are playing some of the best, I think, football in all the NFL, like coming off some pretty high quality wins there, I think. And their secondary, I think that's not talked about enough. I believe Cam Taylor-Britt, who, I was eyeing on in the draft. I was hoping that the Bears would take him, but, took a couple other secondary people with Brisker and Kyler Gordon there. But I mean, a lot of people are saying that he's playing at an all-pro level, has 3 interceptions, has been doing a really tremendous job. And, I think he'll be able to shut down the wide receivers, or him and the entire secondary of the Bengals, shut down the wide receivers a little bit there. With Nico Collins, Dell as well, for CJ Stroud. And it is in Cincinnati too. And it's always a tough game for a rookie on the road. And then, the Bengals defense has been playing pretty well. And then their offense, they're actually clicking some. They're getting the ball to Jamar Chase. They're getting to the wide receivers. Burrow's actually been able to throw further downfield now. And, Mixon's had some, key blocks there from the passing game I've seen as well. And their offense is, humming along as well as it has been all season, I think. So, I'm definitely going to pick the Bengals here, 7-point spread. I mean, the Texans have played some pretty close games, so it's hard to say on that. But, I'm going to go at least with the Bengals here with that defense and the offense kind of humming along there.
Yeah, I like what you said. I think it's interesting because early on in the season, everyone was down on the Bengals. They had a slow start. Everyone was like, oh, whatever. And, I've mentioned it before on my podcast. Joe Burrow was hurt, like even through all that, everyone was giving up on this team. And once again, they came back and they showed like they are a good team. They can have everything when the team is healthy. So yeah, I think you look at this team. They're a very solid team ever since he's become healthy. I think the biggest difference with this team that not as many people have given credit to is how much this defense has stepped up. Because early on in this season, I felt as though the defense not only was Joe Burrow not looking good, but the defense wasn't looking good either. So you look at this team. Joe Burrow is starting to put it together. The defense is starting to put it together. They beat a Bills team who, yes, has not looked very good, but it's still a very crucial win, especially considering how they started. It's a very big win for their confidence. But on the other side, you look at this Texans team. CJ Stroud just threw for 5 touchdowns, had a huge game against the Buccaneers, and what I would say a huge game in confidence for this Texans team. If the Texans want to slide into this wild card spot, which it's probably looking like they're going to have to slide into if they want to make the playoffs, I think this is a must-win game for them, which makes this like kind of an all-in game for them. So I think a sneaky upset here. I think the Texans might pull it off.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and this is going to be a shootout, I feel like. I mean, after what Stroud's done, like you said, getting Tank Dell back in his offense, back involved. I mean, even moving away from like Nico Collins, which is kind of a breath of, fresh air for them. They went to Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz, others. Still haven't really established a run game over there, which will be interesting. I really like them showing up in this game and making a statement. I'm just so on the Bengals bandwagon right now, and kind of echoing what you said, Hunter. Coming out of the gate, seeing where Burrow kind of started, my thought was this guy just needs to go to the IR because we know who he is. This isn't a matter of talent. It's not a matter of like, is he off to a rough start? Is he in his own head? No, like we know this guy is like basically the 1B at quarterback in the NFL. Now he's being able to like take it out of the pocket, get on the run, find guys on the fly. He looks smooth, and when he's going, the rest of the team just starts to go. Love the fact that they're obviously hosting, this weekend as well. I think 7-point spread seems a little bit wide, especially just looking at what the Texans were able to do, under the gun last week. Man, it's like I want to put that pick on Houston, but I'm just not there. So I'm going to take the Bengals here, but I think Stroud continues to keep it going and, kind of cements his case, obviously, as Rookie of the Year. And yeah, if Houston could get, into one of those wild card spots, if Jaguars happen to fall somewhat, like maybe they make it, a race in the, AFC South there. But this one will definitely be fun to watch.
Yeah. I mean, echoing everything what everybody said there, I think one thing I want to talk about, and tell me if I'm crazy if I'm thinking this, but is CJ Stroud the MVP? Like actual most valuable player? Like, because they don't have a run. They don't have a run offense right now. Like Pierce, what is he averaging? Like 3 yards a carry. I think he's on your team, Pat. So you probably got to know. But he's like averaging like 3 yards a carry. So oftentimes they say the best friend for a rookie quarterback, right, is a run game. They don't have that. Their defense has played, pretty well, but they're not like the Cleveland Browns right now, or 2000 Ravens, 85 Bears, or anything like that. So, obviously some good coaching there, but CJ Stroud looked amazing out there last game. Is breaking all these records. Only has 1 interception to 14 touchdowns. So I don't know. Is it crazy to think that he ought to get some talk or chat for not just Rookie of the Year, but MVP as well?
I think looking at the pure definition of most valuable player, I think I understand where you're coming from. Especially because this MVP race, I feel like there hasn't been like a super clear winner this year. Like in the past, oh, it's Patrick Mahomes. Oh, it's this guy. Like, I don't know. I feel like there isn't like a super clear winner this year on who's going to get it. It's like, even if you look at the odds throughout the year, I feel like it's switched. First, it was Tua when the Dolphins were clicking. Then it was, I think right now, it went back to either Mahomes or Lamar. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I think voters in general are going to have a really tough time giving it to a rookie. I don't know when the last time a rookie got an MVP. I don't know if that's ever happened, but I don't see that clicking with fans and voters. So
yeah.
I like the take, man. I like the take for sure because, when you're thinking about it, I mean, what player means the most to his team at this point? Look at the swing that Houston's taken here, just having him under center, like the confidence he brings to the team, the way he's changed that offense almost immediately. I think obviously better and brighter days are coming for him too. Like he's going to be, probably in this, maybe top 10 type pack of quarterbacks that year in, year out can lead their teams to playoff bursts and things like that. I mean, if Patrick Mahomes wasn't, nearly, perfect with the Chiefs out there, if they weren't like sitting atop, the AFC, obviously Lamar, bringing his team up a tier here this year. I'd like to see where guys like Josh Allen, Burrow kind of end, and then even just non-quarterback positional players like a Tyreek Hill, if they happen to, win 11, 12 games or something, he breaks, some sort of receiving records or just puts up an ungodly amount of receptions and touchdowns. Like that could be fun too. But yeah, man, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that out, and we'll definitely
Absolutely.
keep that bookmark for the rest of the year.
I mean, yeah, to your point, like Hunter, I don't like voters. Like, I just don't. I think they go by whatever.
No.
It's like it's like the Oscars. It's like, all right, so and so is hot right now. I'm gonna go for that. Right? That's kind of, I get it. It's the game. It's how it's played. But yeah, if you take, I don't know who you want to qualify as like the average mid quarterback, right? But you stick him where the Houstons are with that talent, the scheming and such. It's like, put Gardner Minshew in there or something. He's not getting 475 yards or
No.
doing these crazy things here. I don't believe so. And without a run game as well. I mean, I don't know. For me, I'm like, I gotta give some props to CJ. He's having an incredible rookie season here.
Well, and on top of all the stats, like all the yards and touchdowns, he's also turned the ball over once, which is crazy for a rookie. You're hopping into one of, like, obviously the highest level of football. These are the best defenses, and you're still not turning the ball over. That curve, that first year, almost always is hard for QBs. Very rarely. I mean, look at Peyton Manning. How many times did he turn the ball over his rookie year? For him to turn the ball over once through 9 weeks, I mean, there's a case to be made. There's a case to be made, Wade.
Yeah, no run game. I mean, wide receivers, like, I didn't know. I think I was like, oh, Dalton Schultz, like, they signed him, but, like, Tank Dell, like, did any of us predict what he's doing right now? Did anybody predict, Nico Collins or Noah Brown? Like, nobody. Like, if they had Tyreek Hill, if they had, Marvin Harris, like, all those players, the rookies that have had tremendous rookie seasons, Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, they all had a team around them. Like, CJ has nothing. Like, a couple makeshift draft picks and Dalton Schultz there. I mean, a good decent line. I think that's one thing, but there's not much around him, I think, coming into the season. So yeah, I don't know. I just want to throw that out there. If I were voting, which of course I'm not, but I might think about MVP here.
Yeah, gotta say, man, the draft review that we did earlier on, I'm so glad that put out the CJ Stroud points. I think Panther fans right now are like definitely hitting themselves. I go back to the CFP from last year and just how effective Stroud was against even that Alabama defense. It was like you could kind of see what was coming for him. I obviously didn't think he was going to be this good out of the chute. Like, it's not where I'm going with it, but you could kind of see that. I believe between the two, him and Bryce Young, like there was some clear advantages going Stroud through the draft, and it just like those first few weeks before the draft, like things just start to snowball, and one guy just gets a ton of helium, and then it's like Bryce Young's the next great thing, and I don't want to say Bryce Young's story is done either, but man, at this point, like Stroud looked like the clear alpha of those two.
Yeah, I agree. And coming into the season, I thought Bryce Young actually had more talent around him. If you combine, Miles Sanders, offensive line. I mean, Adam Thielen, like, he's not a burner, but he has like 70 receptions like for the past, I don't know, 10 years. He's been in the NFL. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm just thoroughly impressed by CJ Stroud, not turning the ball over, has done more with less than I think any rookie quarterback ever. And yeah, like you were saying, Hunter, I think Lamar Jackson's the favorite right now, but I'm like, this isn't his best season. He's not running away with it, right? No pun intended, I think, with him. But yeah, his team's just winning. It's the best team in the NFL, but it's not necessarily because of him. I think it's, their defense is playing incredible. Yeah, so I don't know. I just want to toss it out there, show some love for CJ Stroud a little bit.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah, and by Alabama, I meant Georgia, so make sure I get that asterisk there. On to our next one, we've got the Cleveland Browns traveling into Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Hunter, what do you think?
This one's also interesting. The Ravens have now had 2 blowout wins. They blew out the Lions, and then they just went out and they blew out the Seahawks. 2 teams where before the Ravens had crushed them, people were penciling in as one of the top NFC teams. I've even heard Super Bowl contenders for both the Lions and the Seahawks. And not that like people are like going back on that, but they're definitely questioning it a little bit more after how they were exposed by this Ravens team. Both of these teams have great defenses. On my pod yesterday that I just released, I said that the AFC North across the board, I think, is the toughest division in football right now. Just based off of every single team in that division could sneak into the wild card right now. Do I like the Steelers? I mean, I don't know, like whatever. But what I'm trying to get to is both these teams have really prolific defenses. They're super fun to watch. They can get to the quarterback. Myles Garrett's been going absolutely insane. I mean, the Ravens defense, we've seen what they did. I mean, what's impressive about what they've done with their blowouts is not even that their offense is able to put up 30 or however many points. It's that their defense is holding these teams with offenses who aren't bad to like 10 or less points, which is hard to do in the NFL. So I think it's really hard for me to go against what the Ravens are doing. Like, it's really hard for me to be like, oh, the Browns are going to upset them. But I think it's going to be a closer game that some will think, just because this Browns defense will keep them in it. Obviously, last time they played, Cleveland wasn't really able to hang with them. But I think it'll be a closer game than last time, but I'm going to have to give it to the Ravens. They're just too hot right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a 6-point spread here, which, it's I think I doubted that when they went against the Seahawks last game, but they completely, blew them out there. So I'm with you. Deshaun Watson, he's been looking pretty shaky this season. Great. You had a good last game against the Cardinals, no biggie there, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, now you're going against, the number one, sack team in the Ravens. They get to the quarterback. They'll be able to get that pressure on. A good line there with the Browns, but yeah, they're going to get pressure there. Their pass defense has been impeccable. Roquan Smith, he's been playing really well too. Myles Garrett, a lot of people are saying he's one of the top, I guess, defensive player of the year type of candidates out there. And, rightfully so. The Browns defense has been, I think, number one probably in the NFL. I mean, right there with the Ravens and, maybe the Jets. I don't know. But yeah, Ravens, the offense has been humming. This is at home too. That sort of could play a factor. So, Lamar has been playing pretty serviceable and, is, I think, odds on favorite to win the MVP here as well. So I got to go with Lamar. I think he'll, and the Ravens. I might go with the over here. I think they might be able to get some turnovers against Deshaun Watson and their offense over there.
Yeah, I'd love to, take the contrarian view here and go with the Browns, but I think it's going to be a clean sweep across the board. Just with how the Ravens have been playing, like you guys are talking about, taking it to the Seahawks, blowing out the Lions at home. I mean, they're playing a different level of football right now, and they do it on both sides. I just feel like the Browns, it's hard to know what you're going to get from Watson week in, week out. He's had obviously injury concerns here. The running game is a little bit depleted from where it was at the start of the year. It just, I think the Browns will be a competitive team this year, but they're kind of like the Jets in a lot of ways to me. I mean, I feel like they can be a little bit one-dimensional in that sense. I mean, I think they have greater upside on offense, but it's just like things haven't clicked to where they need to click in order to be, a top contender in the AFC, even in the NFL. I mean, if they get in somehow into the playoffs, I think they're, more or less looking at a wild card spot, maybe, a 6-7 seed at this point. But, on the road in Baltimore when they're playing hot, I don't know, just feels like Baltimore's going to win this one. I like the fact that Baltimore's got Keaton Mitchell in there too, like just somebody they had high hopes for. I think he just missed the IR earlier on in the year, but like bringing some really top end speed, to that offense, in the backfield, kind of pairing with the bruiser that is, the Gus Bus. And yeah, man, they've got a lot of weapons to go to this year, unlike others. So yeah, give me the Ravens, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, honestly.
We're just going to move on. All right, good. In our next one, we got the San Francisco. Go ahead, Wayne. Go ahead. You got anything else to say?
No, not at all, actually. I think that about covers it. Yeah.
All right, good. Our next one, San Francisco 49ers taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Wayne, why don't you start this one?
I mean, the big question, in my opinion, is Deebo Samuels. It looks like he's practicing, which I think is a good sign. Possibly no Trent Williams. I think he hasn't been practicing, but Deebo, they haven't. The 49ers haven't won a game with with them there like fully healthy for an entire game there. So they're on a 3-game losing streak. Jaguars on I think it was I think they're on a 5-game winning streak here too. So it's like one team going down a little bit, but they just looks like they're going to be getting their star wideout here / running back, wherever we want to categorize them as. And then you got the Jaguars at home, kind of humming along. That being said, Doug Peterson is 2-5 after the bye, so I don't know what it is. He just like takes a vacation on the bye or something, just like, hey, we're just going to chill and relax here. So I'm going to say 49ers getting back to duty over here on the road. I think they're 3-point favorites. That's a tough one. I'm not sure I'd take that, but they got Chase Young at the trade deadline there. We'll see what they can do with them. Obviously, probably isn't going to do too much, I think, this time around. But yeah, a lot of these teams, I think the run will be a factor. McCaffrey, going against the Jaguars' top run defense there, I think it'll be a close game. So, but yeah, I just have a feeling that Deebo and having him back in the offense there, I think that'll make a difference here.
Yeah, you definitely made some great points. I think Deebo's definitely a huge factor in this game. If he plays, this whole 49ers offense changes. Obviously, have they won a game since he's been gone? I don't think so, from what I remember. So, they've obviously struggled without him. So, if he's back, I definitely think it changes this offense. I think it, if anything, gives them kind of like that confidence, I guess. We've got him back on our team. So, I think if he's back, I also think there's also like kind of that underlying feeling that they really need to win this game, or else they're gonna really start to slip. They started off really hot. They went 5-0 and they've lost 3 straight. They kind of really need to win this game, especially against this Jags team, who I think isn't really being talked about enough. They're a very sneaky good team. They've shown some really good things on both sides of the ball. What's impressed me about this team is, again, their defense, how many turnovers they've been able to get on that side of the ball. Travis Etienne's been able to find the end zone time and time again. So I think this team's very sneaky good, and it's, like you said, I think it's going to be a really close game. I think the Jags have proved themselves, but I also think, if the Jags win this, they prove themselves even more. I'm going to have to give it to the Niners. I just think they need it more than the Jags. And I think they'll figure out a way to do it, but it's going to be close. I would not take the spread. That would scare me. So
this is another clean sweep for me. I feel like I'm going Niners as well. Jaguars are like my darling team. Like, I really like the Jaguars. I like Aluakone on defense. I think their offense is definitely clicked into gear this year, especially the ETN. Lawrence taking another step at Q. Glad they got Christian Kirk back involved, and it's interesting to see what they're going to do with Ridley. It feels like he's been a little underwhelming game to game throughout the year, so I just feel like they have the ability to spread it around. They have like Jamal Agnew and Zay Jones as well, kind of getting work as well. So I feel like they've got a really balanced attack on offense. Like you guys are saying, the Niners, they set the bar really high for this year. They're on a mission to win a Super Bowl. This isn't, them, trying to establish themselves or get back into the playoffs or anything like that. And his team just can't continue to lose like this. Like, that just, it won't make a lot of sense to me. And, Jacksonville, in my opinion's overperformed so far to start the year. They can lose a game here and not, go into, stress mode or anything like that. Like, they are probably feeling pretty comfortable at 6-2, and probably won't have that same, burning drive. Like, of course, every team wants to win every Sunday, but I feel like just the, the psychology of the game here is definitely going to be on, San Fran's side. Love the Chase Young addition to that defense. Like, it's already pretty smothering on the line with, guys like Armstead, Hargrave, Bosa. mean, just never, it never ends. And to add another guy into that fire, into that mix with high quality coaching, and then also just great teammates, like that guy's going to find a lot of holes, and it's going to be a nightmare, I think, for most quarterbacks here going forward against the Niners. Yeah, Debo in, Debo out. I think San Fran's going to pull it together, and maybe a close one, but I think they pull it off.
Yeah, I mean that Chase Young addition, that'll be interesting to watch what happens in that defense. Obviously, it's like, it's early, but he's an edge rusher. It's like, just get to the quarterback and we can figure out run defense schemes and stuff like that. So and it's undescribable, I think, his talent, like him pairing up with Bosa, both Ohio State people, right, too, as well, and edge rushers, highly touted in the draft. And then the 49ers, just a world-class organization as well. I know, like, the Commanders, like, they're starting a new regime and everything, but it's really early. So often, I think I was just listening to Jason Williams. He was on a podcast and talking about, in basketball, right? He was talking about how, the Heat culture when he was playing for the Heat was a world of difference compared to, the Orlando Magic and how they treat players and things like that. And it seems like that's kind of what the 49ers are all about, hence their winning culture. So culture can definitely be a game changer, I think, for Chase Young going forth. And it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens there with all the talent that they already have.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting too, because it's like iron sharpens iron. I think bringing in a guy like Chase Young, teams are now, they can't double team one person. They can't double team Nick Bosa. I mean, Nick Bosa has a quote unquote down year with 3 sacks. So, I mean, and I say quote unquote because I know he's still getting to the quarterback. I know he's still putting pressure on him. So for them to not, I mean, teams are like, you can't double team one of them. Like, somebody's getting to the quarterback on that defensive line, which is extremely scary for teams. Putting pressure on any quarterback, they start to make bad decisions. They start to turn the ball over. And when you have guys like Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk and hopefully Debo, that's not an offense you want to give the ball to. And I also like what you said about culture. I think definitely bringing Chase Young into what I would call a winning culture. Kyle Shanahan has really brought this really cool mindset. Every year we're talking about them as contenders. And so it'll be cool to see how he responds to that kind of culture change, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure. For our last one, we got the Detroit Lions going on the road to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. Hunter, why don't you kick this one off?
Another interesting one. Chargers just came off that win last night, which I think was pretty big for them. It was an interesting game, I would say, for the least. I mean, they really kicked it in gear second half. I don't really know it's so hard for me to trust this Chargers team, honestly. I am not a big fan of Brandon Staley. I don't think he should be a coach. He's proven time and time again that he makes bad decisions in bad games, or not bad decisions in good games. And if this game comes down to the wire, I feel like I have to give it to the Lions because they have proven themselves better in these close games. Chargers are a losing team when it comes to close games. They just are. They make bad decisions. I would say not even just Brandon Staley, but I feel like Justin Herbert to an extent has made some bad decisions as well. I like Justin Herbert. I think he's a great quarterback. He has a lot of talent. But when clutch time comes, I feel like it doesn't usually work out in his favor. So I'm going to go with the Lions. I think this is going to be another close game. Definitely one to watch for sure.
Yeah, and it kind of sucks to go after all the favorites and everything like that, but I honestly, I have to side with that, though. Chargers aren't good against good teams, right? They just aren't good against good teams. They're like a lesser Cowboys, I feel like. All the talent in the world, both sides of the ball. They just have, a bonehead coach sometimes that just makes bad decisions, and, offensive coordinator as well, just terribly managed in terms of all those things. But on paper, like, you look at that roster on Madden or whatever, it's like this team is full of 90s, etc., right? So, but no, I feel you there. I think, going into LA, the Lions, they're going to be humming. I think they're going to be able to, I think, run the ball a little bit. I think that is definitely like the one thing to keep an eye out on is when the Chargers aren't able to, I guess, win games is they stop the run, they make you one dimensional, and then they do have like some excellent pass rushers and some secondary there to get some picks or create some turnovers. So that being said, Lions have played pretty well in terms of like clean football. So I think they'll be able to win this game here. The Chargers also, the wide receiver core has been a little depleted. Like I don't trust Quinn Johnston here. I mean, this could be his breakout game and he gets like 100 yards or something. I'm just not banking on that. It seems like he's just one of those physical specimens out there that just runs really fast and is big. And that's basically it. So I don't see him being that main factor here, but that would be like one thing to, I guess, keep an eye out on is to see if the Chargers are able to, get some plays downfield with him, get a touchdown or two from like Quentin Johnson, just like running past the secondary. But I think the Lions will play smart, keep Justin Herbert at bay, and just be able to move the ball on offense there. So I got Lions. I think it's 2.5. Yeah, I might go over just for the sake of it here.
Man, my gut's just telling me to go with the Chargers, man. Coming off this last game, I feel like, I hear everything you're saying about Detroit. They're kind of my darlings in the NFC, if Jags are my AFC team or whatever, just because I love their culture. I wish we had a guy like Campbell as our head coach in Chicago. It's weird for me to say that too, because I am a Bears fan, but I do have a soft spot for the Lions just because they've been taking it for so long that, it's cool to see them kind of in a driver's seat now. But for them to go to 7-2, I mean, that'd be amazing. I guess I'm just seeing it as like the Chargers are starting to piece it together, especially defensively, to get, 8 sacks, last game, get guys like Bosa and Mack, really playing to their, standards, I would say, more or less, without the injuries. It feels like a lot of their key players on the defensive side are now healthy. Eckler is now back. We, weren't seeing him for most parts of, the first handful of weeks. So to get him incorporated back in that offense is important. He still hasn't been able to establish the run, and the Lions are like number 2, I think, in the league in rush yards allowed per game. But in the passing game, he's been finding holes. He's been finding space like Eckler does, and they've been kind of pairing him up with Josh Kelly. So maybe, Kelly's the guy who can bulldoze a little bit here and there. You've got the finesse of Eckler, kind of making up for that loss of Josh Palmer or, a true number 2. But I think, Keenan Allen's still Keenan Allen. He's still getting his, yardage and catches, and Donald Parham at tight end's definitely been, more or less involved. I feel like this is a winnable game for the Chargers. I do feel like the Lions are the better team, but I feel like from where they're standing right now, Lions coming off a bye, maybe they don't come out as sharp as they, normally do. And I just think they roll with it this weekend and they pull off the victory. So, I agree with you guys on Brandon Staley. Like, the guy's an absolute clown, but I think Bozo figures it out this weekend.
Okay, I like that. Bozo figures it out.
That's a little headline over there. Yeah, I mean, I think yeah. I was saying that I think of the losses for the Lions this season. I was looking at because I was thinking about the Chargers. Like, this could be a sneaky kind of, I guess, upset here. Is they have given up pass yardage in all their losses. 300 yards to Lamar Jackson, 300 yards to Geno Smith there. So and Herbert, he can pack those yardage pretty easily, I think, and pretty efficiently too. I think he has 4 interceptions this year, so has been taking care of the ball. And the Chargers do have I think the best or tied for the best turnover differential, actually, which it's I kind of was shocked when I read that. And I think Lions are in the middle of the pack there. So if they're able to get some turnovers there, and if Justin Herbert is able to just take whatever the defense gives them, maybe Johnson is able to break one here and there, then this could definitely be a game.
I also think it's one of those things too where it's the Chargers are in a position where they kind of have to kick it into gear. If they don't, then they're kind of just this middle of the pack. This is like the start of where teams have to kick it in gear. That's why, like earlier I was like, Texans need to kick it in gear. Like there's some must game. This is where the must win games start to happen. And I think if the Chargers want a chance to make it in playoffs, like I think this is one of their must win games against a team that is good. For them to be even in that conversation, I think it's a must win game for them. But I can't trust them. Like I'm a Broncos fan. Like I like watching the Chargers lose. I like watching them struggle. Like I'd love for them to have Brandon Staley as their head coach, but I also like Herbert. I think he's fun to watch, but I can't trust him.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens this weekend. If the Lions win, they do go to 7-2, and I don't know any time in my history where the Lions have been 7-2. So I'll just appreciate that for what it is, because it is absolutely crazy this year in the NFC North, especially with the Packers, Vikings, even us Bears just kind of stinking up the joint. So anyways, they're a great team, and we'll see how it all plays out this weekend. Everyone, thanks for sticking around with us. If you're still here, go to YouTube, check out Logical Nonsense Podcast, give Hunter a subscribe, check out his videos, his content. I think you can also find him on Instagram at Logical Nonsense Podcast as well. For Ball and Breakfast, find us on YouTube, subscribe as well to this video, give us a like, comment on what you've heard so far. You can also find us on Instagram at Ball and Breakfast. To close out tonight's show, we're going to do a round of final thoughts here. I'm going to pass it over to Wayne to kick us off.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. So I don't know. I was thinking about, I guess, school for whatever reason. I was thinking back to like maybe some favorite school lunches that I've, had the honor, I think, of like putting together. Like, we were talking about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, I think, before. Growing up, I think I was the one that was making all of the school lunches for both my older brother and then also my younger sister. I think the arrangement was that I would make the lunches, my older brother would drive us to school, and then my sister, she was 4 years younger than me, so she didn't do anything. But I remember making some awesome, and I experimented with like some like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I even put some bologna in there just to kick things up a notch a little bit, and then even putting some mayo with like a little bit of like hot sauce, with the bologna. So I did a lot of experimentation there. So all that being said, we'd love to hear you both, Pat and Hunter. What were some, I don't know if you had any weird school lunches or some memorable school lunches previously that you've had that you want to talk about and share with.
Well, I guess in respect of your bologna, hot sauce, mustard sandwiches, one trend that was huge in my high school that I think goes off this pretty well for lunches and stuff. Back in the day, folks used to buy bagels and a small cream cheese packet, and then would buy Flaming Hot Cheetos. Basically, make your bagel and cream cheese, and then seriously just pour all the Flaming Hot Cheetos over the top of your bagel, top it off. You've got a sandwich right there. It sounds crazy. It sounds, nuts, disgusting, whatever else it could be. But I'm telling you guys, if you guys go home and try this out at some point, you'll appreciate just that combination of the hot with, kind of like your savory, but the cream cheese definitely takes some of the heat off. And I don't know, man, it's just like a very like zesty, type snack. And I swear to God, folks didn't always have like the largest, payroll here for like going out and buying school lunches. Like most folks were coming to school with $2, $3 in their pocket and stuff, but like that was always on the table and everybody just like got into it. It was kind of like the go-to snack. So I think in the realm of that question, that's probably the best answer I could throw out there.
Well, I don't know. It's hard for me because like I'm like thinking back, like what was a crazy school lunch I had, and I keep just going back to the story it's on a similar note. You'll see at the end, but I remember back in like elementary school, I don't know how it got started, but like it was like a funny joke to like pour like weird stuff in each other's food, and so I remember some kid was having like marinara sauce with his like cheese sticks at the school lunch that they had, like the old school cheese sticks. And I I remember I poured some like chocolate milk in his marinara sauce and he kept eating it. And like that's the only thing I can think of right now, and it's disgusting. But he said it was solid. I highly doubt that. But next time you see some chocolate milk and marinara sauce, maybe you give it a try. I don't know.
I mean, I've gone crazier than maybe even that too. I remember one time in after school, we all took out bags of chips, and folks were like dipping it in mud and just eating mud, like dips and chips and dip and stuff, and like we just kept going, man. We never like everybody just kept going and going, and like we were all little idiots and stuff, but in the same sense, like I mean, that's what it was all about, man. Experimentation and just like doing stupid stuff to make your friends laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, like summer camp. I think that's where a lot of things like would happen when, I mean, I don't know what it was if you guys went to summer camp or anything, but I remember going to summer camps and we would just, go crazy with like we would try to clean the tables up with all the food that was left over, and we just put it all in the same bucket. And then I think I made like $50 like eating these leftovers, all these concoctions from bread to, maybe some pasta to maybe a brownie or something, pouring it all into the same bucket and just mixing it all up. And they're like, all right, we'll we'll crowdsource $50 and then Wayne will eat it. And I'm like, yeah, it's an easy 50. This was like 10 plus years ago, when $50 was worth something. So, but yeah, like that was definitely an interesting time in my life, I would say. So my palate's a little bit better now.
Hunter, you got a final thought for tonight?
Sure. What's coming to mind is I had a pretty solid breakfast sandwich on Sunday, and so I was sitting there and I'm like, I'm eating this, and it's like it's got this nice Asiago bagel, nice egg, bacon, classic, right? I'm sitting there and I'm thinking like, who has out of like all the fast food restaurants, who has the best breakfast sandwich?
Mm-hmm. Man, that's a good one. Wayne, do you have anything that comes to mind first?
I mean, the most sentimental, at least, and this is sure sentimental, I guess. I had a family friend who worked at McDonald's. She would like babysit for us on occasion. She would give us free McGriddles, and this was like when McGriddles were like a thing. Like they started, putting it out there. And I was like, this is like the best thing ever. You got like pancakes and you got the sausage and everything. And it's just like easy to grab it and go. So I don't know. For me, more of the sentimental. I can't eat it as an adult. I feel like that's gross. That's nuts. That's way too much. But I would definitely, maybe I gotta like eat a salad later or something like that afterwards. But I would definitely say I like having a good McGriddle. I think for me at least.
I'm going to second Wayne on McDonald's. I mean, in a lot of the conversations we'll have around fast casual, fast food, like McDonald's has fallen from grace so hard over the last 20 years, I'd say. Like it used to be like one of the kings of, quick food, but I feel like nowadays it feels like quality is falling. Prices are still going up. I mean, even if you go inside McDonald's and stay, it's kind of like you don't really know what you're going to get when you open up the door and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I still think to this day, like a sausage, egg, and cheese McMuffin, like it just hits so easily. And I think, we have the McDonald's actually right across the street from where we live, and we avoid it at all costs. Like I think I've probably gone around the drive-thru 3 times in, the 3 years that I've been here. But every time we go around the drive-thru, it's always for breakfast. And I think that's the one thing they can hang their hat on for forever. I mean, some folks like the Big Mac, the Filet-O-Fish, like whatever it is, but like, I don't know, man, of the fast foods, like I think it's the most consistent. The menu's expansive for good breakfast options, and like none of these other guys are really stepping up and kind of taking it either.
Yeah. I like that.
How about you?
It's a good one. So I'm in between two. So I definitely am on the McDonald's sausage egg McMuffin train. That just hits every time. I feel like it's like when you are able to make it to McDonald's in time for a sausage egg McMuffin, like it just always hits. Like I don't think I've ever gotten a bad one. of those. So I think they've always been consistent, like you said. They've always I'm like, oh, this is it. But the other one that competes for me and might be an unpopular opinion, is, and I don't like saying this. I just like to preface that right now. Like it kind of hurts me to say this a little bit, but I gotta go with the bacon, egg, and Gouda from Starbucks. That one competes a little bit for me. Which and here's why I don't like that answer is because it's a coffee shop. Like, you're supposed to have good breakfast. So
that's fair. I was thinking you might have thrown out like Chick-fil-A's, spicy chicken, biscuit sandwich. Like I think some of those are pretty good. It is regional, so like not everywhere in the country has like accessible Chick-fil-A's and stuff. And when you're cutting out Sundays too, like that just takes another day away from us to like hit the drive-through, whatever. But when I was living in South Carolina, I'd probably get that every few weeks or so, and that always hit the spot for me.
Yeah, and there's no shame on that. I've had that breakfast sandwich from Starbucks like multiple times. So like, especially as you get those rewards from Starbucks or whatever, that shows how bougie I guess I am. Is I have a reward. I definitely utilize the reward system over there. Sometimes you're able to get that free breakfast sandwich. I will say I think salads are the best ROI because like salads are like you can get a free salad or like a free breakfast sandwich. They equate to the same value, but it's like a salad these days, especially like they have some pretty decent salads, like $10 plus, whereas breakfast sandwiches they usually go for under. So, anyways, I do like that Gouda one. I think Starbucks is a solid breakfast menu. That's high in protein with all the egg, different options that they have there. So no shame.
Appreciate it.
For my final thought, we celebrated my son's second birthday over the weekend. We bought a couple of cakes, one for him, needed to have no egg in it. So he had his own personal cake. Folks had some slices of that. We also bought a larger cookie cake for folks. So basically just a sheet of chocolate chip cookie, dough for the most part with some frosting over the top. I wanted to get your guys' take on cake itself, number one, whether you're a fan or not. And then of any of the kind of hybrid type desserts or desserts that are kind of pushing a new trend or a new category, I guess, like, are there any desserts that really, stand out for you, especially if they're like kind of, trying to take two great things and melding them all together?
That's a great question. I mean, who doesn't like cake for one? They're making cake like as accessible. They're making cake as accessible to everybody, I feel like. You got like healthier cake. You got fruit cake, you got chocolate, cake, you got milkshake cake, and all this other cake stuff. So like, there's got to be something for everybody. I feel like when it comes to cake, like gluten-free cake or whatever, like vegan cake. Like, come on, man. There's got to be something like about cake. So,
I think,
or not. No, that's totally fine. You can say no.
No. I wanted to go, but then I also wanted to get your take on like a good hybrid dessert or some like new dessert category that you're interested in. But go ahead, Hunter.
I was just gonna say, for as far as cake, like I'm not a huge fan of it. Like I just raised my hand, but like overall, I would say cake is most times overdone, especially with the frosting. It's just too overwhelming for me, which is crazy for me to say because like if anyone knows me, like I'm a huge freaking sugar guy. Like I just love sugar. So like for me to say like I can't stand frosting, like it's just too overpowering for me. But I do think like there are some like hybrid-ish cakes, I would say. Like I like carrot cake, and I like ice cream cake. I think those are fine, but overall I'm not a huge cake guy. As far as like hybrid desserts, oh gosh. I don't know. Maybe Wayne should go first.
As I just like talked about cake and everything and how awesome it is. I just like all kinds of food, so nobody's perfect anyway. I don't know, in terms of like alternative foods or desserts specifically, I guess. I mean, I definitely, I guess I admire maybe more so of the different variations of donuts that are coming out. You can call it a dessert or not, but it is kind of straight up sugar. So there's that, like the different variations that can come along with a donut, whether it's like cream filled, whether you put cake on it or not, or, mochi nuts, things like that are helping out, cronuts, like any other dessert plus nut, basically making it like a donut concoction with whatever else. I guess there's something to that. And then I know in a lot of weddings, right, instead of just having like a slice of cake, right, they're doing more so cupcakes, I guess. So it's like, you can just, instead of somebody just slicing a slice for every person, right, it's easy. You just go there, you pick up the cake, or little cupcake. They'll usually have just smaller sizes, so it's not as much of an indulgence, I guess. So that's always another option, and I'm sure there's different. There's got to be a cupcake you like. If you hate cakes and cupcakes, then I don't know, man. There's something wrong with you. You gotta get something checked there.
I think it's like just it's for me. It's like how dense cake is coupled with the frosting. Like if you're at work and somebody hands you like a piece of cake or something like that, just puts you out for the rest of the afternoon. Yeah. And it's just the layering of the frosting for me. Like it's just not a flavor or, something I want to have like in mass. Like, I don't know, when I'm just trying to have some sweets or something. And like, it was funny because even when I pointed to wanting to have some cookie cake instead of, part of my son's cake or whatever, my sister-in-law spoke up and she's like, Patrick, yes, like stay away from the frosting. Like I hate frosting too or whatever. Like kind of had like a small bonding moment. It's pretty funny, but like, yeah, there's just something around it where it kind of feels like cake for me was kind of left in the 90s. And ever since then, I either want something that's just a little lighter or, maybe it's pie, maybe it's a cookie, maybe it's something else. But like, I'm always trying to, spin it up whenever it's my birthday or if I'm in charge of buying the dessert. Like I try to steer clear of cake overall.
Yeah.
So
I mean, are there like, you can get like bars and stuff like that. I've seen like a bunch of, like I bake on occasion too. Like that's my Instagram feed is cakes or like different kinds of like cake fruit bars, something a little bit different and maybe a little bit healthier and not as indulgent there with the frosting and sugar. So I'll send you some banana ones if you like banana. But I mean, honestly, yeah, like we've spoken about pie a lot on this podcast. So, yeah, you can always go the pie route, I feel like.
Yeah, man. I'm good with pie. I'm good with ice cream. Anything that's cookie, brownie, even anything that's kind of fused together like that. I just love, those flavors and everything like that.
Yeah, but you gotta,
but
yeah.
That's it, man. What?
Cake, man. Come on. You gotta like
we ruined your night. We ruined your night with big take.
We gotta find like one good cake that maybe you like. Cake take. There we go. Yeah.
We'll figure this out. Like we'll find a way to get me some cake that I can enjoy so we can all kind of celebrate in that way together. But anyways, folks, if you're still with us, hopefully you had a good time, had a good laugh here, kind of close out the show. Wanted to pass over to Hunter just to plug, anything else that I might have missed about his podcast. And if you want, just, say a part on what you're doing and what folks should look out for.
Yeah, appreciate it. First off, thank you guys for having me on. I really had fun today. I think this is an awesome podcast. So if you are still listening, you are doing yourself a favor. I think these guys are great. So I'd like to shout that out first. But Logical Nonsense, we are on, like he said, we are on YouTube, but we're also on Spotify. We're also on Apple Podcasts. You can find us at pretty much any podcast streaming platform that you use. Make sure to check us out. I mean, what we do is I just have a lot. I like to have fun with my friends. We talk sports. I also talk hip hop, and I also talk fashion. So, if you're interested in any of those, come on. You can skip to those parts if you're interested. So I definitely like to have a wide breadth of things. I do my preparation. I try to give you guys different perspectives than you're used to. But once again, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
For sure. Yeah. Love having guests on. You were a lot of fun. Hopefully this isn't the last time we all, collab on some sort of podcast or the like. But, thanks everybody for sticking around with us. Give us a like, subscribe, find us on our channels as well. And, we'll catch you on the next one.